Like a lot of you, I used to play CS2 the wrong way. Over time, I found a few things that actually helped me improve.
Bro, who smoked con?
And today I want to share the biggest ones with you. The most important skill in CS2 is your aim. So let's start with the first one, Crosshair Placement. This one made a huge difference for me. When I first started playing, my crosshair was all over the place. Sometimes it was too low, sometimes too high, and honestly, half the time I wasn't even thinking about where it was. A lot of people say you should always aim directly at the head. That can work, but for me, keeping my crosshair around neck level felt much more consistent. When you start spraying, the recoil naturally pulls your bullets upward, so aiming around the neck gives you a better chance of landing these shots on the head. At longer distance, I still try to one-tap the head. It just felt easier for me and I started winning a lot of more fights because of it. The enemy basically walking into my crosshair. The second thing was Counter-Strafing. It's pretty simple. In theory, when you're moving, you quickly tap the opposite movement key to stop instantly before shooting. I knew about it for a while, but I wasn't actually using it. After practicing it for a few days, my shots felt much more accurate, especially in quick duels. It's one of those things you don't really notice improving at first. But learning it takes a lot more practice than it seems at first. It's one of those things that's hard to notice immediately, but after a while you realize you're winning more duels than before. Another thing that helped me was learning basic recoil control. Not mastering it, not becoming some spray expert, just learning enough to feel comfortable with the weapon I use the most. Before that, if my bullets missed, everything after that was basically hope for the best. The basic idea is simple. Move your mouse in the opposite direction of the recoil. For example, with AK I pull my mouse down and slightly to the side to keep my spray as accurate as possible. You're never going to keep every bullet in the same exact spot, but the goal is to make the spray as tight as possible. Now I can at least keep the spray somewhat under control. It's not perfect, but at least my mouse isn't having a panic attack anymore. If you want to practice these skills, I definitely recommend this workshop map. It's the one I use myself and you can see it on the screen. It has a lot of useful training features and you can even try out different knives, which, let's be honest, is probably the only place most of us will ever get to use them. The next thing was positioning. This is something I didn't focus on at the beginning. A lot of my deaths weren't because my aim was bad. I was just standing in bad spots. Now I try to think more about simple things like cover, off angles, and not just standing in the open like I'm invisible. For example, instead of holding a wide open angle, I try to play close to the cover, so I can fall back or repick. Or instead of switching into a side alone, I try to wait for a teammate or take a safer angle where I'm not exposed to 5 different directions at once. And honestly, that made a big difference. Sometimes you don't even need best aim, you just need to not stand in the worst possible place on the map. This one is pretty simple. Learn a few smokes, not dozens of lineups. Just a few basic ones for the maps I play the most. For example, if I play Mirage, there are a few basic smokes that are almost must know. They make taking a site a lot easier and can completely change around. For me, Mirage was the easiest place to start. Learning the window and connector smokes made controlling mid a lot easier. If you don't know any smokes yet, practice mode is a great place to start. Valve recently added map guides which show you the basic smokes on each map. And if you want to learn even more, there are plenty of workshop maps where you can practice smokes, flashes and over grenades. The next thing was economy management. At first I didn't really pay attention to it. If I had enough money for a rifle, I bought one. If I didn't, I usually forced anyway. Later, I realized that buying with your team is much more important than buying whenever you can. A good full buy with rifles and utility gives you a much better chance than forcing every round. It doesn't sound very exciting, but learning when to save and when to buy definitely helped me win more games. Having the right weapons at the right time can make a bigger difference than people think. The last thing that really helped me was communication. And I don't just mean callouts like 1A or 2 mid. That's important, but it's only a small part of it. What actually made a difference for me was starting to play with my teammates instead of just next to them. Things like asking for a flash before you peek, going for a boost or telling your teammates you're about to push so they can trade you. Even simple stuff like I'm holding this angle or I'm going to smoke and going in makes everything feel way more coordinated. At first, I used to just do everything on my own and hope it works out. It usually didn't. But when you actually start using your mic and working with your team, rounds become way easier. Even in random matchmaking, just a little bit of communication can completely change how a game feels. And honestly, sometimes getting 5 random players to act like a team feels harder than winning the round itself. But when it works, it's a huge difference. So those are the things that actually helped me improve in CS2. If you're also trying to get better at CS, maybe some of these things help you too. And if there's something that made a big difference in your game, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.